Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, anyhow, welcome to my house.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And
Good to be here.
I know we both love music, and so I figured we'll talk about music.
Ask away. Let's talk.
I want to know, basically, what got you into music, how you evolved into being, lead to a band, and now doing solo.
Well, you knew my family,
Uh-huh.
so you know that Vinny was the oldest. Well, Shirley's the oldest, but of the boys, Vinny, Peter, and Charlie were in sports.
Uh-huh.
Vinny played football, but Peter and Charlie especially were into sports. So by the time I came around, I think my mom was tired of running people to ball games.
Mm.
And so, the guitar fell into my hands. My brother Charlie wanted the guitar.
Oh, wow.
And that's what he wanted for Christmas one year. And so he got a little guitar for Christmas, but he was all about sports. So he didn't take off on the guitar, and it would sit around. So I picked it up and started strumming it, and that's how I got playing the guitar.
Mm.
And it was a little plastic. It was literally a toy plastic guitar. It was a Tiger guitar, and I believe they got it at Touchton's.
Oh,
you
wow.
remember Touchton's?
That is in the past. It's
Yeah.
like what Walgreens and
Yes.
all this stuff.
I think that they either got it at Touchton's or it could have been Grant's or Neisner's, but it was one of those places.
Wow, that is definitely a blast in the past.
Yeah.
So how long did it take you to actually learn to start playing songs or rhythm or?
So I got the guitar. I didn't know anything about tuning it or chords or anything
Mhm.
like that. So Father Snyder, who was the priest at the Catholic Church, he offered guitar lessons.
Oh, cool.
He hired a teacher, and they were free lessons to anybody who wanted them. So it started off with as I recall, a pretty decent group of people, and me, and I was the young one. Everybody else was teenagers and older, and one by one they dropped out until there was no one left, and whoever was teaching the class just didn't want to have one little kid.
Mm.
So, do you remember Jeff Smoker and Greg Smoker?
Well, the name sounds familiar because, see, I went to school from 1973 to 1977 in Sebring High.
Yes.
Fact is, you probably don't know this, but I was their only unofficial Captain Blue Streak in 1977.
No kidding.
What happened was, every year, like one year they had to have a girl, one year they had to have a guy,
Yeah.
and whatever, And in 77 they had to have a girl, and her name was Carla Redstep.
Yep.
But for some reason, everybody wanted me. So we sort of co-captain, or whatever you want.
Yeah.
However you put that, anyhow.
Oh, cool.
So, and I get out there, and this was the music came in. I had this cheap little flute. I couldn't play nothing on it. I'd go out there and during pep rallies, and I'd just play something. People would just go nuts. And I always loved music. I mean, I was raised on country.
Yeah.
My mother was big into country, and I started getting into rock and roll. And then I started nudging her, like Jimmy Buffett and Bob. She really liked Bob Seger.
Yeah.
But like when I was in school, I used to go to like where the high school band would rehearse, but they also started a thing called a house band.
Yeah.
And that's where, if you don't mind me talking about Rodney, I think he was involved in that.
Yes.
Getting that created.
Yeah.
Which it sounds like it evolved into the California Toe Jam. I think that's probably how it started.
Rodney, that was 74 to 77.
77 is about the time that the house band started creating. That's like the year they did a lot of Chicago and stuff like
Yes.
that.
So by the time I got there, I didn't get to Sebring High until 81. 81. And there may have still, I don't remember if there was a house band or not. I remember that Rodney played with Jim Robertson and a few other people at some of the pep rallies. Toe Jam didn't happen until 1984.
Well, and because I see
There
that
it
on
is.
already.
That was my senior year, 84, 85, and so we got together for Thunder.
Oh yeah.
the cheerleading sponsor asked us to put a band together. So Rodney and I recruited Roger Newbern, who was the band director at the time, and Richie Shepard played bass, and Jay Grubb played drums, Roger played sax and sang, Rodney played keys, I played guitar, and this kid Mike McElfresh sang, and then Sean Zoka did our sound. So we only learned 3 songs. It was for Thunder, and the theme was Back to the Beach, so we learned Wipeout, Barbara Ann, and 409.
Those are cool songs, though. You know, those are feel good, and most of them were like, you know, like a fast beat type of thing. You know, and they were just, you know, people got revved up with it.
That's right.
So that would be fitting to.
So that was it, and then that's how Toe Jam got formed. So we played for Thunder, and then the next day we played for the pep rally, and then we played New Year's on the Circle that year. That was the first New Year's on the Circle where they had live music, at least during that era. And that's almost 40 years now. This is year 39, so next year's our 40th anniversary. Sadly, it'll be without Rodney.
I know one thing, that your band is a local treasure.
Yeah,
I know
thanks.
you may not be still together, but it's been, you know, like a tradition now. I mean, brought so many people together, and you know, and the music is fabulous.
Thank you.
I'm not usually. I usually go to see these professional artists, but I think y'all are more professional than these big names.
Thanks.
A lot of them can't even sing now, so you know.
Some of them are aging out now.
But
we've had a good run, and we're only doing 5 shows this year, but next year we might have a full schedule. We'll see.
Cool. That would be. I know a lot of people out there that's watching this channel would be really happy to hear that.
Yeah, it's a rebuilding year. Obviously, with Rodney passing, that's a big hit to us, and it's gonna take some time to recover from that. Trent, our drummer, Trent is he's the young man that's been blind since birth.
And he's amazing.
Amazing drummer, amazingly talented guy overall. His sports broadcasting, everything else. But Trent has moved to Tampa, and he's going to USF. He's got a full course load. He's living independently. He's doing incredibly well.
That is good. And, our blessings. And
yes. And so we have a new drummer. His name's Sawyer Humphreys, and he's 12.
12.
He's 12. He's incredible. He's already a great asset to the band.
Wow.
We've only done 1 show together so far, but he's gonna be just right. So it's good. Part of California Toe Jam's, it's an unwritten philosophy, unwritten goal. I don't know what you would call it, but we always try to include younger people. And if Rodney hadn't included me, you know, he was the guidance counselor. And when the cheerleading sponsor asked, he could have said, well, let's not get students involved. He could have said, we can do it with faculty, and it might have been a better band. But he was willing to allow the students to be a part of it. So it was a hybrid band. And so California Toe Jam has always looked for opportunities to let younger musicians come in and really have a chance at some serious musical growth. So that started with Jordan Terrell.
Wow.
He came in when he was probably 15 or 16. And now he's the music director at Bible Fellowship, and he's taken my job over there, and he's done a great job. My son Rodney came in drumming when he was about 15. And so Trent came in drumming when he was about 15. So California Toe Jam is kind of a school/proving ground for young musicians, and it's had good success.
And I know one of your drummers, Lucky.
Yeah, Lucky Dixon.
We met through a mutual friend and stuff, became friends, and I see him in the store all the time. That's the nice thing about, see, I mix paint. A lot of people come in the store, and I see from different walks of life and stuff. And that's the one thing that I always remember, because I've worked in hardware since 1981. That's right. And you know, Rodney and other teachers that were from Sebring High would come in, and it just always bring a blast of memory. And I'd always say, like, well, you know, he'd be like Mr. Hollinger, or actually next door, for the longest time, my neighbor was Mr. Bollinger.
Oh, yes, I know the house.
Remember I remember your story about the David Bollinger fan club.
Yes.
I love that. I said, I want to be a member, you know.
Well, I had Mr. Bollinger. I was one of the few students who had the privilege of having Mr. Bollinger all 40 years of high school. Because I took freshman, I think it was physical science, in my freshman year, and I flunked. So I had to retake it as a sophomore, and then I had him for my junior year of science, which I flunked, and I had to retake him again as a senior.
Oh my!
So, and again with Rodney, and now Mr. Bollinger. So here's what happened. Got through my senior year, and it was time to graduate. It was 2 days before graduation. Grades came out. I flunked Mr. Bollinger's class again. And so I found out, no big deal. So I walked down to Rodney's office, and I said something to the effect of, yeah, I didn't pass this class, so I guess I've got to go to summer school, so I'll graduate and then come back. He said, no, that's not how it works. You didn't pass the class, you don't walk, you don't graduate. And I was blown away, because I thought it's a formality. I'll get my diploma and I'll come back and make it up. No, you will not do that. I thought I had an in with Rodney, but my in was not that good.
Well, you gotta remember one thing though. These teachers wanted to make sure that when you left high school, that you had a certain amount of values,
yes,
and that you had that level of education to take you further in life.
That's correct.
And though they were little, I mean, they could be sticky wickets, and that's what you're saying, they're sticky wickets, but they meant well, and we love them dearly.
Yes, we do. And Rodney and Mr. Bollinger. So I was upset, I was crushed, and Rodney went down and talked to Mr. Bollinger. And Rodney and Mr. Bollinger worked out a deal. And I went in the next day to Mr. Bollinger's room, and I spent all day, and he put me through the ringers. And he made me do every experiment thing that I had lacked, and he made me take tests, and he made me do work, and he worked my tail off. And as I was doing this stuff, he was calculating it, and I graduated because I passed Mr. Bollinger's class by 0.1%.
Oh, wow.
And when I reached the D threshold, he signed off on it, gave it to Rodney, and I was able to walk.
Well, God bless him.
0.1%.
Well, still, yeah, God bless him.
Yeah, so those two guys, they're both so special in so many ways.
I know he's been a great neighbor of mine for almost 20 years. I mean, we've been. He'd always come over here Christmas time, have a big old thing of cookies and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, he'd always ask like when my mother's still alive, he'd ask about my mom and stuff, and we even to this day. And he's probably going to watch this interview, so if there's anything you'd like to say to Mr. Bollinger,
I love you, Mr. B. You're still one of my heroes, one of my great all-time heroes of all time. Thank you for everything. Good man.
Yes, he is. Well, is there, now that you're doing solo?
Yeah. So I started off doing solo, and I did solo from 8. I started getting paid for shows when I was 8. And I did that all the way up until Toe Jam. With Toe Jam, that added another layer, having a band, but I continued doing the solo stuff. I did the solo stuff until I was about 29, 30, and then I quit doing that. I got burned out on it, and I just was tired of it. And then I just did the band, but I was the music director at Bible Fellowship for those 17 years. And then, I don't know, a number of years ago, 2017, 16, Mike McNamara invited me to play for the grand reopening of the Publix.
Mm.
And I hadn't done a solo show in years. And what I had been doing is whenever the band would take breaks, I would pull out my acoustic guitar and play songs during the breaks, because I don't like to take a break. I like to work through it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was enjoying playing some of those songs that I hadn't played in a long time. And then when Mike asked me about playing for Publix, I thought, well, let me do that. I'll have a go at that. And I really enjoyed it. So that's when my solo shows came back, around 2017.
I'm curious about something. I used to sing karaoke, and I'm terrible. I mean, I don't even hold a candle to it.
Come on.
But the thing is, I can do maybe one or two songs, and I can't even sing. I mean, I can't sing or hardly talk. And I remember taping you for 3 hours straight, and I mean, just like almost perfect pitch. And I'm just like, God, you know?
I don't know about that. I just have been doing it for a long time, so I guess maybe it's muscle memory. I did 4 hours yesterday. It faded nonstop. It's just, I don't know. Sometimes my voice always gets tired, but I just have to gauge it, and I have to sing a certain way, and it's just like anything else. You know, you just learn how to do things to make it effective.
I tell you, I'm amazed. Even the most professional singers, they might do the 2.5 hours, 2.5, and they're just like dead in the water.
Well, they're at a different level than me too. You know, they're up on stage in front of sometimes thousands of people. They're more high energy. So I'm just a guy with a guitar. So my workload is a lot lighter than those guys.
Well, I tell you, I sure hope you continue. Do you have like any kind of future plans, like maybe where you're going to play, or if you're going to try something different, or maybe even do maybe some original recordings?
I've got a lot of original stuff. I started writing songs when I was a little kid, and I wrote songs all the way up until a few years ago, and then I kind of stopped. But yeah, part of being a musician or a singer or whatever is having that other thing, that creative thing of having something inside of you that needs to come out, and musically, that happens musically for people who do this. I just don't make a big deal of letting people hear my stuff. That's all. Mm-hmm. When I was at the church, we did a lot of my songs, and a lot of Rodney's songs, and Rodney and I co-wrote some things. But I had an outlet for it there, because I could teach it to the congregation would learn it, and we would sing them regularly. But when people come to hear my shows, they want to hear me do the Beatles, and they want to hear me do the Rolling Stones, and they want to hear me do Harry Chapin in America. Mm-hmm. They don't really want to hear my stuff. They want to hear my covers. And I'm okay with that. I'm really good with that.
Oh, absolutely.
That's fine by me.
I know, when I was recording you and stuff in my class, and I had to change cameras because the batteries were wearing out on one, and you was doing like Bad Leroy Brown, and I mean, I was going like 90 to try to see if I could get the song in there. I mean, every last one, it was a gem. And
wow, thanks.
I was kicking back, and I was trying to make it where, like I said, the sound was unbelievable. And the performance, it was gold.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. I did a show for my brother Peter on the way back from New York this summer, and I set a new personal record. My previous record was, I think, Toe Jam played 6 hours once. That was with the whole band. An average show for me is 3 hours. Sometimes I'll do 4. On the way back from New York, I stopped at Peter's, and Peter was involved in this 24-hour run. They called it an ultra. And so he offered me to play. So I set up at the site, and there were joggers that jogged around a lake and walked around a lake, and it was a 24-hour thing. But I did 10 hours. I did 10 hours of singing, and I decided to go alphabetically.
Hmm.
So I started with letter A, and I went right down my list, and after 10 hours, I was only up to the letter I.
Oh my gosh.
So,
And you now, do you remember all these lyrics, or
not
are they
anymore.
on a screen or something?
So a lot of the ones, probably most of them, I still remember. But I'm to the point now where my storage is about full.
Mm.
So I've gone to a pad, and I used to have books. I used to have notebooks,
Uh-huh.
but it was a whole box. It was a whole box of notebooks, and it was find this one and that one. So I finally bit the bullet and went to a tablet. So
That makes
all
it a
my
lot
songs
better.
are on there, and I use it as a reference. You know, I just sometimes I need. I'm not 25 anymore, so sometimes I need a cheat sheet or a reference for some of the lyrics or some of the chords.
And that's highly understandable.
So, it's just part of the aging process,
Oh.
I guess.
And I tell you, and you're still very youthful looking anyhow.
Oh, thanks.
You really are.
I'll take that.
I'm the old fart. I just turned 65.
Oh man, you're not an old fart at all. No, and you're a local legend too. I mean, everybody knows you. Am I wrong?
Well, it's true. I'm one of these people though that's in the shadow. I'm not one of those that stand out. And to actually do this YouTube channel is a stretch for me. And how it really started was, I like scrapbooks. I like doing in other words, collecting memories. And I'm a late bloomer as far as concerts go, so what I scrapbooked up is when I go to a concert, I try to get a guitar pick, a set list, drumstick, whatever I could get my hands on. If I could meet the artist, I get an autograph.
Yeah.
And boy, have I got stories.
Oh yeah.
But the point is when YouTube started, I just started putting like they had like the Heartland Idol.
Yeah.
My first recordings were the top 3 singers of Heartland Idol, and actually the viewers on that when would just blew me away. And that was just little memories. I figured I'd just go back to it and watch it when I felt like it and stuff. But other people around the country, and now my videos are actually seen in 10 different countries.
Amazing, isn't it?
And it's funny too because the number 2 country used to be Mexico. Now it's India.
Wow.
Can you believe that?
Amazing.
So this is this little guy that's in a little town, and I'm putting out videos and people sing in different parts. I made some friends in the Philippines. There's people in the Philippines watching.
Yeah. You've got a global outreach here.
I'm working on it and stuff. And what I'm basically, and you're actually my first actual interview, so if I feel a little nervous, please forgive me.
You did great. You were right on the money.
But my goal is to get more content like this out so that people, well, what it is okay, like when we want to go somewhere, we know that we can go on YouTube and research the area out so we kind of know what to do, to go, how to prepare and all this stuff. But we don't think about it. The people there might want to come here.
That's right.
So my channel is basically dedicated for like local things around Central Florida. And there's special events I put in. I put little hidden gems on my channel. And it draws them in. And it's our own way of creating tourism.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic.
And I think people need to know you, listen to your music, and I really do.
Well, I appreciate that vote of confidence. You've been a good friend for a long, long, long time.
And like I say, I've known your brothers. I've known Vinny and Pete, and Pete's been kind of an entrepreneur. I was surprised he got into tennis shoes, the back and dash and stuff.
Yeah.
That really blew. I never in a million years would think that Pete would be into making tennis shoes.
Go figure. There he is. He found something that he enjoyed between the vacuum cleaners and the shoes, and he made it work. And now now he's teaching.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
wow.
He's a golf coach now for the school, and yeah, he never stops. Peter never stops. When he got that nickname Rabbit,
yeah,
that was a good nickname for him. He's lived up to it.
And he was such a quiet thing around here.
Yeah.
And I thought I was a quiet one. He was kind of quiet. He really was.
He was. Yeah. He wasn't a boisterous, loud kind of guy. None of my brothers were.
Mm-mm.
Vinny was out there a little bit, but he wasn't loud about it. He just was a big personality, or is. He still is. Yeah. And
What
Shirley
what is
you
he
know,
doing now? What kind of?
Vinny is up in Clearwater, Largo area,
Hmm.
and he's working from home. He's doing some work from home. So
Oh,
he's
nice.
doing real well up there. Yeah.
Well, I wish the best for him, and also for Pete, of course, and
Thank
for you.
Thank you very much.
Wow. Well, any memories that maybe you'd like to share?
There's just so many. There's just too many. I just, especially just thinking about Rodney and
Yeah.
all the good stuff with him. Rodney was a lot of the people who've seen the band over the last, to say, 5 to 10 years, have seen a certain side of Rodney.
Uh-huh.
Kind of the stoic, straight man, very dry, very dry humor. But, the Rodney that I played with for all those years before, he played sax, he played trumpet, we swapped instruments, he played bass, he could play any instrument you put in his hands.
Oh my gosh, that's some talent.
Yeah, and when we used to do costume sets, and we would do the Beatles, and we had the wigs and the jackets, and we did Blues Brothers, and Richie Shepherd would be Belushi,
Uh-huh.
and Rodney would be Aykroyd, and he did all the dancing, he did all the dance moves, he did all of it. Rodney did Janis Joplin.
Mm-hmm.
He did a mean Janis Joplin.
Oh my
He was
gosh.
hysterical. Rodney he's a heck of a guy, a good friend, unbelievable musician. So we're gonna miss playing with him.
Definitely.
It's gonna be hard. We played this past Tuesday. We had an unofficial show, and it was weird. It was weird setting up and getting ready and not having him there, and looking over to see him, and he's not there. He's always been right there. Just not there anymore. It's going to be a learning curve without him. But we had a conversation about a year ago, and he was sitting over at the studio, and we were chatting, and we knew about this Parkinson's for a long time, for several years, and Rodney always kept his cards close to his vest. He was very private. He didn't like people knowing his stuff, but we knew that it was progressing. And I asked him, I said, well, what do you want to do? What are your thoughts with the band? And he said, well, I want to keep playing. And I said, well, yeah, you play as long as you want. I said, but we have to have the talk. What do you want to happen after? And he thought about it for a second. And he said, well, I don't want to be the reason that the band doesn't play anymore.
Mm.
And so, that's what I needed to hear. And if he had said, yeah, when I'm gone, there really isn't a California Toe Jam anymore, I would have honored that, and I would have shut it down. But his last wish on that was that the band would keep playing. So whenever we get together and play, it's in honor of Rodney.
And I know future generations, even the little kids now growing up that just now listening to the music and stuff will remember.
Yeah, that's right.
And that will, what I call inspire. What you're doing is inspiring future generations to go out there, pick up that instrument, sing a song.
Yeah.
Even if they don't do that, inspire them to excel in sports, to hit the books,
Yes.
know.
Yes.
And this is the things that you don't really realize you're doing, but you're doing.
Yeah.
And so future generations around here could be thankful for this.
Yeah. I hope so. Rodney's, Rodney had his whole life dedicated to students and education. And his entire working career was with the Highlands County school system as a teacher, as a guidance counselor, as an assistant principal, as a principal, as a coordinator of student services, and then he ended up running the youth academy out there. And this is a man who dedicated his life to young people. So for us to be able to carry on part of that legacy by bringing in younger musicians to play with us and extending the band even that way. At some point, Jordan is going to have to do for me what I had to do for Rock. And at some point, maybe a younger person will have to do that for Jordan. You know, we lead each other into these next chapters.
And I think it's going to happen. I mean, I can almost, from what you're telling me, the way you're saying it, I can feel it. I think it's going to happen.
Well, you know what? We'll just have to wait and see. But time will tell. In the meantime, we keep on trucking.
That's right.
I appreciate you doing this. Thank you.
It's my pleasure, and I thank you for doing this interview. I know it's a little awkward. Like I say, this is my first interview, so you know, maybe I'm not asking the right questions or anything, but I'm hoping that, you know, you're able to say what you want to say.
Listen, you welcomed me in. You made me feel comfortable right off the bat. You provided a really comfortable and inviting environment to have your interview in. You did everything right. So you keep doing what you're doing. Get some more people to sit on this couch and chat. And I think you're doing great. Keep up the good work.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure.
Goodbye, TV land. It's not TV land anymore. What is it?
YouTube land. Now.
YouTube land.
Okay, let me. While you're here, would you like to ask any questions about the stuff here, or?
Well, it's just fascinating.